Hello all, welcome back to the Career Spotlights podcast. I'm your host, Owen Wampler. I won't waste your time with pointless chit-chat right now. Let's get straight to the point. So I thought who better for the first episode of the podcast to interview than my own dad, who's a archaeologist that works at AMEC. Everyone say hello to Mark Wampler. So, hey Dad, how you doing?
Pretty good. Thanks for having me on your podcast, Owen.
All right, so first thing I wanted to ask you is what interested you to pursue this career in the first place?
Well, that's a good question because I really didn't think about this career until I was much older. A lot of people think about their careers when they're younger, but when I got older, like I'd say when I was around 24 or 25, I got interested in archaeology because I like time. I guess I like things that I like the past. I like to learn from the past. So that's what originally got me interested in archaeology.
Is that about the only thing that got you interested?
Well, I guess also in thinking about the past, I think that we learn from the past. So I thought it would be neat to, pursue a career that constantly entertains what goes on in the past and how it can, reflect on how we make decisions in the future.
All right, so how does an average workday for you go?
Well, when I first started out as an archaeologist, an average workday would be out in what we call the field. So I would travel to various sites, and we would what we call excavate archaeology sites, whether they be older sites for Native American sites, which can be up to thousands of years old, or some sites are more recent. 1700s, 1800s, early 1900s, what we call historic sites. So I would, the whole day would be about planning and excavating what we call test units and shovel tests at the sites to try to meticulously figure out what was going on at the particular site. If it was a Native American site, we were trying to figure out how they lived, what kind of structures did they live in, what kind of refuse pits did they dig to throw their trash in, and things like that. If it was an historic site, we tried to figure out also their structures, but also the artifacts. Also, prehistoric and historic artifacts, that tells us a lot about how they lived back then. So the whole day would be about excavating the sites. But then on the back end, we would come back to the office, and in the laboratory, we would analyze all the artifacts that we recovered and write up a report that tried to explain everything that we did and what that particular site could contribute to archaeological research.
So whenever you get home sometimes and I talk to you about it, you say you have like a project going or something. Does that mean you do like more in-office work these days?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Thanks for following up with that question, Owen. Because I was talking about earlier in my career. So now, since I've been doing this about 25 years, I'm more organizing the excavations and managing the projects and lining up who's going to work on the projects, and also trying to develop the clients that we work for. So that's mostly what I do now. And I wish sometimes that I could get back into the field because that is actually my passion and a lot more, I would say, fun than than what I do now, but that's just how my career developed. And just as any career develops, you want to move on to more responsibility and managing more aspects of what you do, and it should just logically progress that way.
All right. So, what knowledge do you think someone needs to pursue this career?
Well, that's also a good question. I often tell people that archaeology. I'm sure that a lot of folks listening to this watch TV, and they'll see different shows about archaeology and see that it is fascinating. It's very interesting to learn about history and like I said, it's very intriguing. But to do this career, you have to have a good education behind it. And so, what most people that get into archaeology, there's also a discipline called anthropology, which is essentially the study of humans, really, in all kinds of aspects, evolution, archaeology. There's a discipline within that called cultural anthropology. But what you need to do is you need to get a Bachelor of Arts in anthropology if you're really interested in doing what I do. And then to really have a full career in what I do, you definitely need at least a master's degree in archaeology. And that provides you all the knowledge and research and study that you need to go out and do the excavations, and then further your career into management and whatnot. Mostly, what I do though is I'm on the management. I'm on the consultant side of things, and it's not academic. A lot of people go into the work for universities and all that too, and so that's another avenue to pursue with the career.
So, compared to like other careers with the degrees you would have to get, do you think that becoming an archaeologist would be more challenging or less challenging than something, say, like accounting or something?
Good question. It depends on the individual, I guess. I think that archaeology would be a little bit more challenging because it requires a little bit, it seems to me, more definite passion for how you're going to spend your career. And that, there's all kinds of careers out there that's floating around in my head right now, but if you bring up accounting, that's pretty straightforward. And certainly folks can be passionate about that as well, but that's pretty straightforward, where you get a degree in accounting and you take it. I think it's called the CPA test or Certified Accountant test, and you can become an accountant. It's just like the master's. I think it's like the master's degree that you would get for archaeology. I think it is, just to answer your question though, I think it is a little bit more challenging in the aspect that you really have to be passionate about it. One thing I want to let you know is that a career in archaeology is not, you make a good living. You make a good living with a salary, but it's not as high of a salary as some other careers, say like an engineer or even an accountant, as you mentioned, or certainly a doctor or lawyer.
All right. Well, that's about all the time we have right now. So thanks for coming on the show, Dad.
Hey, thanks for having me, Owen. It was really a pleasure.
Yeah. It's no problem. Tune in next time and we'll take a look at another career. So see you then.